Hi, this is Steve Hopkins, your head coach with Jordan River Group, and I wanted to come back to this channel and just share a quick message with you about vulnerability. We've been talking briefly about vulnerability on some of the YouTube shorts, just one or two quick punches there about it, but I've been getting quite a few questions about actually actioning vulnerability, and questions like, hey Steve, how are you choosing to work on and action vulnerability for yourself? Which I think are splendid questions, because we are thinking a little bit about being aware and looking around for it and what we want to do for others, but what about ourselves? And remember, modeling is one of the best levers that we have to pull when we're working as a leader with teams. All right, so first of all, let's just chat for a quick second when we're talking about vulnerability. The call sign I like to think about for vulnerability, that awareness that we're in the space, something's kind of knocking on our doorstep, is this magical combination between truth and courage. And so what I mean by truth is something's going on and starting to percolate that sounds like truth, like you believe it to be true, right? But then what the feeling is, the action is going to take some courage, right? Whether it's a conversation or an actual action item or what have you. So again, just getting comfortable with that combination about truth and courage is usually the sign that we're right on the doorstep. We're right there with an opportunity for vulnerability. So what I thought about in this short video was maybe just coming up with a few examples, some categories where we could practice and get good at this as well. And remember, the reason why is we want to demonstrate for others looking at us that we want to allow ourselves to be seen authentically, right? And that's because that's what we want others to do, is show up authentically, be safe enough to learn and grow and contribute and challenge in an authentic way, right? Our real selves, be rewarded for who you are. And that's what we want too, right? And so that's the reason that we want to invest in this. And that's why vulnerability is so important, to downgrade the price to be paid for being vulnerable, to reward it instead of punish it. So let's get to a couple of examples here. The first one I like to think about is just getting comfortable admitting when you don't know something, right? And that kind of goes along with accepting kind of our blemishes and imperfections and all of that, right? As leaders, often we don't really like to show that side of ourselves, and sometimes it's for positive reasons that get a little insidious, but we're like, hey, people need to trust me, people need to follow me, and so I've got to look strong, I've got to be the leader that I need to be, and have them not worry or doubt me. But the reality is that goal is very unrealistic. Nobody believes anyone's perfect, and in fact, we start to trust people less when they kind of imply they are, or they don't want to be vulnerable to show that they have imperfections and they're not always correct, right? Doesn't mean we compromise and settle for unresolved things, but just being able to stand up and say, hey, I don't know, or I need to ask for help on something, I need to ask for an answer to a question, really is a great way to model vulnerability. And it starts to send the message to your team that this is a healthy, acceptable, in fact, rewarded way to behave. All right, so that's a great one. Taking accountability for the bad things that turn out as well, right? That's a great opportunity to model and demonstrate that, hey, this is the truth of the matter. We called this, I made this decision, and this is how it turned out. I take responsibility for that. Again, not compromising, we're not settling for that, but we do have an opportunity to model vulnerability in that moment, which can be really valuable. The third category I maybe mentioned is just working on developing awareness in general, right? And this is where I think it's great to invest in finding a partner, a peer, or somebody you really, really trust, that you can work on some of these things, practice some of these. And one of these can be awareness. And we think of awareness often, like we've done in a couple of the other YouTube shorts, on awareness of others being vulnerable. I don't want to miss the opportunity of rewarding somebody when I see it in them. And that's true enough. But I'm talking about awareness in yourself. getting comfortable with what happens to us physically, what's going on with our gut, our stomach, maybe even our pulse, our heart, and certainly up in our head, in our mind, so that we're aware that that combination of truth and courage is brewing right now, and we're aware that we're in the moment of a vulnerable opportunity. And it gives us the opportunity then to do the next thing, which is not shy away from the tough stuff. So number 4 then is knowing those feelings, being aware of what happens to you in a vulnerable moment, and feeling more and more comfortable not shying away from the comfortable stuff. Many of us, probably most all of us, have had the experiences of feeling truth well up inside us, only to be squelched by a lack of courage and a feeling that the price of vulnerability is going to be too high, and we kind of pump the brakes and retreat. And we want to get comfortable acting, not shying away from the difficult things, a difficult conversation, a daring action that you believe in. That's the moment of vulnerability, and people are watching, and we want to be able to model and demonstrate that. So those are 4 ways that I think you can practice your own work on vulnerability on behalf of yourself and your team as well. So with that in mind, I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and certainly on the other side of the river.